Nobby Stiles doesn't have a statue, no mural, no stand in his name, no chants in the terraces, no clips in the highlight reels. And yet, he played every second of 1966, marked Eusébio out of the match, bled into his socks, danced with no front teeth, and the World Cup in his hands. They said he was too small, too slow, too blind. But Nobby Stiles gave England its spine, and then the game turned its back. No riches, no protection, no farewell. He gave everything, and left with nothing. He wasn't made for posters, he was made for battles. He was the heartbeat no one noticed until it stopped. This isn't nostalgia. This is repair. This is remembrance. Subscribe if you believe men like Nobby should never be erased from football's memory. Nobby Stiles was born on May 18, 1942, in the bomb-scarred streets of Collyhurst, Manchester. A working-class boy raised on ration books, cracked pavements, and Catholic grit. Post-war Manchester, where bombed-out homes and factory smoke shaped dreams as tough as the rubble. The war had ended, but the rubble hadn't. And in the shadow of sirens and silence, he learned to fight before he ever touched a ball. He was small, he was shy, and nearly blind, so short-sighted he wore thick glasses just to cross the street. On the pitch, he squinted. At school, they called him weak. But there was something in him no one saw, a kind of hunger that didn't blink. At 15, he signed for Manchester United. Not because he looked the part, but because he never stopped chasing it. This wasn't the United of today. This was the club rebuilding from ashes, post-Munich, post-tragedy, post-hope. And Nobby? He didn't arrive to save it. He arrived to serve it. Quiet, tough, unbreakable. He trained like a ghost, spoke like a whisper, tackled like a storm. He knew he'd never be the face. So he decided to be the reason the face could stand. He made his Manchester United debut in 1960 under Sir Matt Busby, a man still rebuilding dreams out of the Munich wreckage. But Nobby Stiles didn't glide, didn't dazzle, didn't fit the poster of what a footballer should be. He wasn't Best. He wasn't Law. He wasn't Charlton. He was teeth-gritted tackles, low socks soaked in mud, a firework of fury always just about to explode. They called him a destroyer. He called it his job. While the world praised elegance, Nobby went to war in midfield, winning the ball, bruising the stars, and walking away without a sound. From 1960 to 1971, he wore the United shirt 392 times in all competitions, 311 in the league, 19 goals. But numbers weren't the point. He was the reason others could play. He covered for them, protected them, made space for legends to become legends. And in return, he asked for nothing. He helped United win the First Division twice, 1964-65 and 1966-67. Two titles not remembered as his, but they don't happen without him. He didn't just play for Manchester United, he anchored it. It took nearly a decade, but in 1968, Manchester United stood on the edge of history. Wembley Stadium, European Cup final, United versus Benfica. The world watched George Best. They cheered for Bobby Charlton. But in the engine room, Nobby Stiles was doing what Nobby always did, smashing tackles, covering grass, carving silence out of chaos. This wasn't just a final, it was a resurrection. A decade earlier, Munich had taken the club's soul. Now they had a chance to give it back. For Busby, who lost his boys in the snow, Nobby's tackles were a promise kept. And when the final whistle blew, United 4, Benfica 1, AET history had been made. Not just for Manchester, but for every man who didn't come home from that runway. Nobby Stiles lifted the European Cup not as a star, but as a survivor. He joined a sacred few, one of only 3 Englishmen to win both the World Cup and the European Cup. Alongside Bobby Charlton and Liverpool's Ian Callaghan. No glamour, no spotlight, just a medal earned in blood and dust. He didn't play for praise, he played for justice. And in that moment on that sacred pitch, he gave Munich its ending. England, 1966. The summer that became myth. And in the middle of it, tiny, toothless Nobby Stiles, 5'6", blind without contact lenses, chewing gum like it was war rations. He didn't miss a second. Every minute, every match, every tackle, quarter-final, semi-final, final. Nobby was there, quiet, constant, unbreakable. And in the semi-final, his task was simple. Stop Eusébio, the Black Panther, top scorer of the tournament, terrifying, explosive, impossible to mark unless you were Nobby. For 90 brutal minutes, he shadowed him, blocked him, tripped him, frustrated him, took fouls, gave them back. Gave him nothing but a late penalty, Eusébio's only mark in a game Nobby owned. And England won, 2-1. Portugal went home. Eusébio left in tears. Nobby Stiles left with bruises and no spotlight. Then came the final. England versus West Germany. A game etched into every pub wall and living room screen. 4-2. And when it ended, there was Nobby again. Grinning, gap-toothed, twirling the Jules Rimet like a kid on Christmas morning. That dance, in black and white film on shaky legs, became legend. He wasn't a goal scorer, wasn't a poster boy, but that moment, that was pure football soul. He didn't lift the trophy, he lifted the weight, so others could. After the trophies, after the dance, Nobby Stiles did what so many legends don't. He walked away without fanfare, without fame chasing. In 1971, he left Manchester United. 12 years of battles, 3 major trophies, and not one complaint. He joined Middlesbrough, a smaller club, a quieter stage, played 57 matches, scored 2 goals, still tackled like every touch could win a final. Then came Preston North End, 1973 to 1975. 46 more appearances, 1 last goal, his old knees grinding, his fire never fading. But by then, the spotlight had moved on. The chance belonged to others. He turned to coaching, managed Preston, led the Vancouver Whitecaps in Canada, later joined West Bromwich Albion as assistant. No headlines, no second career in the studio, just the same boots on, eyes down work ethic. And finally, back to where it all began. Manchester United as a youth coach. He didn't tell the kids who he was, he showed them. Beckham, Scholes, Giggs, Neville. They all passed through his sessions, they all learned the same thing. He taught them what he lived: tackle like it's sacred, play like it's your last. His son once said, "Dad used to fix bikes for the local kids, blind as a bat, but never missed a bolt." That was Nobby. Off the pitch, gentle as rain. On it, thunder in a 5'6" frame. He gave his body to the game, and the game forgot his name. Nobby Stiles didn't retire with riches, didn't finish with fanfare. He faded quietly, painfully, while football moved on without looking back. In his final years, his memory began to vanish. Dementia, prostate cancer, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE. Likely from years of heading heavy balls, a brutal toll from an unprotected era. He paid the price with his brain. Piece by piece, it left him. Until even 1966 was a stranger. No pension, no safety net. A World Cup hero. Treated like a footnote. His family begged for help. The system shrugged. He didn't ask for statues, just support, just dignity. But football gave him silence. He died without knowing what he meant to millions, without seeing the full honor he deserved. And yet, his final gift was still for the game. His family donated his brain to science, to the field study, researching the link between football and neurodegeneration. Even in death, he was still trying to protect the players who came after. He didn't lift a trophy in that fight, but he raised awareness. And maybe he saved someone else's memory by losing his own. October 30th, 2020. Nobby Stiles died. Age 78. No headlines, no fanfare, just a line in the news and the quiet grief of those who remembered what he really gave. No state funeral, no national tribute, just whispers in Manchester, and tears behind closed doors. But something changed, because the silence finally felt shame. Fans spoke up, pundits reflected, clubs looked inward, and a country that had lifted a trophy on his back finally bowed its head. In Collyhurst, where it all began, a mural rose. In 2021, on the wall of Collyhurst's Star and Garter pub, fans painted his grin toothless, dancing, immortal, painted on brick, toothless, grinning, dancing with the cup. That image that never left us now carved into the place that first believed in him. It wasn't marble, but it was real. Old Trafford lit up his name. Supporters sang his chant again. Children asked their fathers, "Who was Nobby Stiles?" And the fathers said, "He was a warrior, the kind you never forget." He didn't live to hear the roar, but maybe that's what made it louder. Because for the first time in decades, the game stopped. And it listened. And it asked the question it should have asked long ago. How did we let this happen? He never asked for applause, never chased headlines, never cared if you knew his name. But Nobby Stiles was the reason the names you do know got to be remembered. He guarded the back of Charlton, cleared the space for best, wore the shirt for England when the weight nearly crushed it. And when it was over, he didn't cash in. He didn't complain. He just kept showing up for clubs, for kids, for a game that had already turned the page. There are no statues of Nobby Stiles, but statues don't bleed. They don't play through dementia. They don't fix bikes for neighborhood kids with fading vision and a heart still full of fight. His legacy was never marble. It was movement, sacrifice, unseen service. He played so others could shine. He suffered so others could be safe. He gave so much that even death couldn't keep him buried. Because now we speak his name. We paint his face on the walls. We tell our children what a real hero looked like 5'6", bent at the knees, eyes squinting through contact lenses, and a lion's roar inside his chest. Nobby Stiles didn't want to be famous. He wanted to be useful. And in doing so, he became unforgettable.